Hello everyone, welcome to another video of How to Win at Chess by Harry Roseman aka Gotham Chess. In this video, we will be covering the chapter 2 of this book, in which we will study how to start the game with the white pieces. So, before playing any opening, you need to know three basic principles or three, you can say, golden rules, which is very important in chess. First, very important rule in chess is, that you have to just control the center. That is the first golden rule. Second golden rule is you have to develop your minor pieces into the game. Third most important rule is your king safety. And you need to safeguard your king by castling so that there is no attack on your king. You know, how can you control the center? Firstly, you can control it by moving your uh, king's pawn or the queen's pawn forward by 2 squares. This is how you control the center. This is the very basic golden rule which has to be applied, or whatever move you play, the move shall fulfill these three basic rules. First is, like, I have played e4. I have moved my uh, king's pawn forward by 2 squares. This pawn covers the center, controls the center, right? Similarly, I can play d4, I can play knight c3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5. All these moves will be, just will, cover the center, will control the center and develop our pieces. Like, for example, let's say if I move knight to h6, I can play d4, which I want to. Why? Because I just want to control the center. I'm just playing any random move with black, okay? I'll just show you what I'm doing just in a second. Like, see this position, okay? This looks very promising for white. Why? Can you see this? The white has successfully acquired the center of the board, which is these 4 squares. That is d4, d5, e5, e4. Okay, these are the most important squares at the start of the game, or we can say overall game. If you control these, you can attack in any part of the board. Like, you can attack left, you can attack the right, you can attack forward, anywhere by controlling these 4 squares. And when we develop the pieces, notice one thing, that we also followed the rule number one, which is to control the center. Like, I developed my bishop, I developed my knight, right? All these moves did control the center. Like, this bishop controlled this square, this bishop controlled this square, this knight controlled this d4 square and as well as e5 square. This knight also controlled d5 square as well as e4 square. All these moves controlled the center, okay? And also my knights got developed. And the third important rule, which I told you, was to safeguard your king, which is the king safety. Because king safety is very important, because if your king is not safe, it could be under very heavy attack. It can get checkmated. So that's why safeguarding your king by means of castling or anything is very good. You can say, in the very first, you can say around in first 10 moves, you can say you should achieve all these things to be okay. See this. Now this position of white is very promising. All your pieces are developed, the center is controlled, and your king is very safe, all these things. But you won't achieve this position very easily, because the rules that I just told you, not only you will implement this, but your opponent will also implement it. Okay, so he will not allow you, like if you play e4, he will not allow you to take control of the whole center. Well, there are different openings that can allow if your opponent plays it, but generally they will not allow it. The basic response to e4 is e5. There are many players who will play c5. We'll come to it in a bit. Like, see, is not the opponent is not allowing you to control the center with d4. So you just develop your piece by attacking opponent's pawn as well as controlling the center. Okay, because this knight also is looking at the center of the board on d4 and e5. So what is the usual response of your opponent? He also develops his piece by defending his pawn. This is how generally an opening is played, by following all the three basic principles, or you can say by following the three basic rules of the game, which is to control the center, develop your minor pieces, and not move it twice unless absolutely necessary. Either when your piece is under attack or something, don't move it otherwise. Okay. And third important rule is your king safety, which is to safeguard your king, which is very important in chess. So this is how you generally start your, uh, how you play the opening phase of the game, which is usually first 10 to 12 moves of the game. So very most e4 is the most common opening, okay, and the usual response to e4 is e5. Okay, you can continue with knight c3, opponent continues with knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, castles. You can develop the knight. Now he's attacking our pawn. We can defend it by developing our knight. This is known as the four knights game. Well, this is how not. I'll just make it very clear that this book, How to Win at Chess, is not an openings book. So we will not cover the opening theory in detail, but we will cover the basic ideas of the openings. Okay, so this is how an opening is usually played. And another common response to e4 is c5. Your opponent still restricts you for by playing for playing d4. You can't play d4 directly. Well, there is an opening which you can play. This is known as some gambit. I don't remember. Probably Danish or I don't. So basically, he plays c5 to control d4 because your opponent don't want to allow you to play d4. If you play it, you simply capture. Now you don't have any other uh, central pawns. Okay, so this is also a very common move, and this is basically you can say this is generally played at advanced level. So when they don't want to draw the game, they usually want to win. Well, for e4, c5, you can usually play with knight c3, then sorry, knight f3, controlling, developing your piece and controlling the center. If your opponent can do the same, then you can play d4. Now there is a difference. Why? Now why you can play d4? Because if you take, will take back. Now your opponent can take. Well, he can, but in the previous line, sorry, I'm sorry. In the previous line, when I directly played d4, he captures, I captures. Now he can develop his knight by gaining a tempo. He attacks the major piece, which is the most precious piece, which is queen. Now we have to retreat it, and the opponent is now leading in development, which is not good. That's why usually on e4 c5 you play knight f3 to avoid this, to avoid that. That's how usually an e4 opening is played. You can play. There are many other options too, like there's the Caro-Kann defense and all. We'll go to that in some other videos. Okay. Now, e4 was the most common move. Okay. Now we'll come to d4. Now d4 is the second most common move played in a chess game, in an according to online databases. Well, now what can you play with d4? Well, the rules are again the same. Those three basic principles: control the center, develop your pieces, and remember one more thing: don't take your queen out early in the game, as it may get harassed, and it while your opponent is being attacking our queen by gaining the tempo, they will just be ahead in development. So that's why that is not usually great. So so d4. Similarly, when e4, e5 was played, here d4, d5 is a very common move, again preventing you to play e4 because he will just take it. So, but well, you can say, you can play bishop to f4 here, which is the London system. Anything you can play, like knight 3, knight c6, e3. This is known as the London system. I'll not go into much detail of the system as it is in the part 2 of this book already. We'll cover it later in our videos. So this is usually the basic setup based opening, which is which is very easy to play, to be honest. Okay, you can learn it. That's very easy. And the other most common move in this is you can play c4, and this is, my friends, known as the Queen's Gambit, because in d4 openings, the c4 pawn is a very good friend of d4 pawn, to be honest. Okay, well, that depends upon black now. He can simply take, and you can just in the center of the board, and he can just play Queen's Gambit, decline by maintaining the tension in the center because black doesn't take it. We also don't want to take it, to be honest, because if you take, then it's a, you can say, a similar type position. But this is known as the Queen's Gambit declined, and you can just play anything like knight 3, bishop e6. If bishop goes there, knight f3, or probably not this, then g3, bishop g2, and all these things. Basically, what we're trying to say is, whatever opening move you play, you just need to follow three simple basic principles, and those are: control the center, develop your pieces, king safety. These are the three important rules, or you can say three important golden rules, three important principles, which every move should follow. Then only there's a chance that you will maintain a good game, or you can say an advantageous game against your opponent in a chess game. So that was it in today's video, guys. We'll meet again in another video. Till then, bye bye.